It's time for the Charlotte FC podcast.
Blocked, Duzbak's gonna get it back. Westwood, rather Vargas, the touch, the finish!
Gol!
The Alba, whipped in, good ball!
Oh!
Christian Kalina, a save to save the season!
Crowd belongs to Charlotte! And Charlotte FC, if the results hold, have clinched its first playoff berth in club history!
Well, welcome into the Charlotte FC podcast. Nick Finelli here, your host. And today I'm lucky enough to be with Matt Swift. Everybody knows Swifty in all different ways. He's got the Mid-City Soccer Show. But actually, I wanted to talk more to Matt about just how he got into Charlotte itself and being a part of the soccer community and really making it what it is. I feel like he's one of the groundbreaking folks that's been around, and I think he has a good story. So, Matt, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Sure. So, how was the supporter social last night?
Oh, it was fantastic. I saw a lot of new faces, which is encouraging. You would think maybe going into the third season, there'd be a little bit of drop off, but I saw so many new folks. And so all the supporter groups had their tables set up to, sign up new members. I know Mint City Collective, we got a few new members, and I know the other groups did too. So it was a really great turnout and just a fun thing for the fans to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess in some ways we've had like 3 different startup seasons with having 3 different coaches and 3 different things. It feels like it's renewed every year, whereas nothing really has remained the same for us.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, all right. So when people ask you to introduce yourself, how would you do this? What's your elevator pitch on Matt Swift?
Oh man, I guess I am a native North Carolinian. I tweeted this out earlier. Because of the new kit launch, I grew up in the Piedmont here. I was born in Kannapolis. I moved to Wilmington, lived there for a few years, and then I moved to Boone and Asheville. So I have been all over the state. I love it. And then got into soccer in the kind of early 90s. And then, when we got a team here, I was tried to be as much a part of it as I could early on.
Cool. That's awesome. Did you go to school in Boone or any of those areas? Okay.
Well, I quote unquote went to school at UNCW. I lived a block off the beach and very rarely went to class. But no, I went to Appalachian State, loved it. And like I said, lived in Asheville too, and went to school there for a little bit as well.
Cool. All right. So kind of want to know about Mint City Soccer Show. You guys have been doing, I think you have over 300 episodes, tons of listeners. I'm sure it also helps that you are a part of the Mint City Collective and kind of running that thing. And I know you've taken a step back in this last couple of years, but just tell me how that started for you.
Yeah. So Johnny Wakefield, who was one of the early creators of the Mint City Collective, him and Corey Ensko started the show. They did about 13 episodes, and then Johnny was like, I'm too busy. Let's get Matt Swift and David Gussler on the show. And we thought we were just going to be guests. We show up, we do the show. After the show, Johnny was like, yeah, you guys are just going to do this from now on. So ever since episode 13, I think it was episode 13, we've taken it on. Corey has stayed on as the producer, and sometimes he'll come on and co-host, but it's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. So besides Corey, you got David. Of course, David couldn't make it today, but what kind of planning do you do for your show? Because I'm sure, the first time you came in, you didn't know what was going to happen, but now you're 3 years in, 300 some episodes later. How do you plan for it?
Well, we look at the topics that we want to talk about first, what's going on with the team. And then I kind of lay out, like an intro, and then just break it down into topics and try to pace the show as best as possible. Sometimes it takes a life of its own, of course.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then we throw in the fan questions, which are always fun, and that can also take you down a rabbit hole. But that's typically what I'll do. Like the day before, I'll have a general outline, and then just go from there and let the guests talk and do their thing.
Yeah. And what is your goal, I guess, in having this show? Because we all want to be able to talk and explain soccer and kind of have our voice in here. That's why podcasts are so popular, because people can just be like, all right, I'm just making this. So what is your vision for this?
I think we try our best to inform fans and also to give people a platform. Like, we had Zoran on our show. Give people like that a platform to talk, because you don't hear from them quite often. So we love having guests on like that, where they can kind of give you an idea of what's really going on, because a lot of times we have a lot of questions we don't know. And if you don't know, you can only assume, and that can sometimes not be correct. So we try to give people a platform to come on and say their piece, and really like let the fans know what's going on. And like I said, we try our best to inform and give our opinions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But yeah, and just try to have some fun with it. We have a lot of like running jokes on the show. So that makes it fun.
Well, you also do some other things. So I guess it was last year you started doing kind of the pre-coffee talk before the shows. Like, and I know everybody was like asking, like, is somebody going to do something where we're just going to be able to talk? And it was just on Twitter or X. And are you going to continue that? And what do you think of that? Because I think it's a good show.
Yeah, this was David Gussler's idea. He wanted to. I forgot how exactly it started, but basically he woke up one morning and was like, "Hey, we should do like a pregame show." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's try it and see what happens." And it's just soccer and coffee is what we called it. But yeah, we're going to do. It was a big hit, so we're going to do more of that this season. And the way that's structured, it allows people to actually chime in during the show. People can request to talk, and so far so good. So I think we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, and you get some voices in there. People who just want that information all the time. Obviously, there's a desire for this. So just from the viewership. So what? Any other plans? New stuff this year? I saw your different backgrounds and stuff on your latest episode. That was nice. And y'all went 2 hours live. That was nice.
Yeah, we had Von Pullman on the show, and there was a lot to talk about. So we love the longer episodes. It is, we probably could have talked for 3 hours if we really wanted to, but we have a lot of big plans this year. We just dropped some merchandise that we thought was kind of fun. But we really want to do more on like YouTube, TikTok, just more fun or informational pieces, short videos. We're trying to put more time and effort into it. We all have day jobs and kids and family, so it can be tough. But the cool thing is I think what I've seen is pretty much all of the shows this year have like doubled down. They're either partnering with other people, or they're like starting a podcast this year, or doing all these things, which I think is really cool, because again, you would think it'd be the opposite going into the third year. The newness had kind of worn off, but I think all these shows are like really amped up for this season. They're all going in extra hard this time.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of upped their game a little bit on what they're doing or how they're approaching things. And I think some of that has to do with just not only soccer in our city, but just soccer in the nation itself has just grown. And I feel like people want to be a part of not just Charlotte soccer, but U.S. soccer, women's soccer. All of these, events are happening right around us. And I think just it's hard not to want to be a part of all of that. So how much time do you spend on a typical week, Mint City Soccer stuff?
Oh, I wish my wife was here. She would definitely be able to answer that. It's a lot. So, you have to be informed. So you have to be on social media a lot. You have to watch the games or rewatch the games. You have to, listen to the press conferences. So I haven't really tallied it up, but it's, it's at least like a part-time job.
Yeah.
And yeah, to the chagrin of my wife, she was like, you should try to get paid on some of this stuff. And I was like, well, I think that's what everybody tries to do. It's easier said than done, but yeah, I spend a lot of time on it, but luckily I have David and I have Corey that help me with everything.
That's nice. Yeah. I would say average, I hear a lot of people just, as this part-time thing, 20, 25 hours easy a week.
Yeah, easy for sure.
Right. That's just like putting it out there, and all the research and stuff behind is definitely.
And that's
adding to
just the podcast. That doesn't count the Mint City Collective stuff and the supporter council stuff too.
So speaking of that, since you mentioned that, so how did you get involved with Mint City? Like, how did you said you're a part of this, but like, how did you know to do this?
There is a common theme here, and his name is Johnny Wakefield. He has suckered me into doing all of this stuff. So I mentioned that he started the podcast, got me on, and was like, okay, now you're doing it. Kind of suckered me into that. When I first joined Mint City Collective, he was at the very, very beginning kind of doing some of the communication stuff. And he saw some social media stuff that I was doing by myself. And he was like, oh, you should do communications for Mint City Collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I was silly enough to say, oh, that sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the very end of 2019, I became the communications director for Mint City Collective and did that all the way until 2022. And then vowed I was going to take some time off, and then became vice president.
And so added more responsibility.
That's right. So it's all Johnny's fault.
It's all Johnny's fault. So how do you think the supporters council has grown in these past 3 years? Because I know, with the addition of Sean and Nessie in there, and just kind of making that group kind of feel more together and understanding. How do you think that's gone so far? And do you have any comparisons to like other supporters groups in other clubs?
Well, I think this year, I think we're starting to get more into a groove of how all of the different groups, their style, what they want to do, kind of their voice, their vision for things. And sometimes it could be tricky and tough to get all of these groups together to agree on certain things. Right. But I think this year I'm seeing lots of improvement, lots more collaboration, and just maybe some more patience too. I think we've all kind of learned that even though we may not agree, we're all in this together for one common goal. But it's a ton of work, I've got to say. So all of the presidents and vice presidents are in the supporter council, and they represent their supporter group. So we're in there all day coming up with, what chants we need to do. What's the drumming going to be like? What's the TIFO going to be? Are there going to be dumpsters at the tailgate? Like little things like that, like you wouldn't think of. The Porter Johns, what's the situation there? So all those little things, and we all have to work together to sort that out. And it's not easy, and a lot of work goes in. So just want to tip my hat to everybody involved in making those decisions.
It's almost like you have to caucus every single one of those points.
Yeah, we do a lot of voting, but everybody's involved, and we've grown it. We've South Charlotte has joined the supporter council, and I think Norcus is another supporter group they're trying to join. So it gets bigger, and hopefully we can
more
get
voices.
More. Yeah. But it's nice, and we all share the tailgate lot, and I think we're all kind of getting used to that as well too. At the beginning, it could be kind of like, all right, where are you setting up? Don't get near, like this is our thing, and maybe a little territorial. But I think now things have loosened up, and it's gotten a lot better, and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And and just think, if we were top of the league winning type team, would we have these same issues, or would they just be different issues?
Probably different issues, but I think it would be a lot better.
Right. So you talked about, of course, this is not your full-time gig, and you're spending lots of times. What do you do? What's your other job?
So why it was a natural thing for me to do the comms for Mint City, I do marketing in my real life. I'm a marketing manager. I do marketing strategy and PR. So yeah, it was pretty natural for me to do it for Mint City Collective. So
right,
yeah.
Cool. So you talked about growing up or being born in Kannapolis, going to Wilmington, and then you said, of course, college and stuff like that. What would it look like for you growing up as a kid?
Lots of baseball.
Really?
Soccer was not a thing that I even had on my radar. None of my friends played. Couldn't have told you anything about it. Played baseball every single day until I was in the 8th grade. I moved from Kannapolis to Albemarle and went to North Stanley High School. It was brand new for me. I didn't know anybody, and the guys that I started hanging out with were playing soccer, and I was like, "Oh, weird. Okay." And then the very end of my freshman year in '93, I started playing soccer, and I played goalkeeper because I could use my hands.
Right.
So that's how I started. And then the next year was 1994, and that was the year of the World Cup, and that basically solidified my fandom. And then my coach turned me into an outfield player, and I played stopper my junior and senior year. And yeah, just soccer's been everything to me since then.
You must be pretty tenacious, because usually stoppers are not somebody that they would put somebody that's passive.
Well, so keep in mind, I'd never played until I got to high school, but I was playing every single day. In my spare time, I was with my friends playing around, messing around, and I was never like super skillful, but I could jump, and I was really fast, and I could defend. And the coach would always just stick me on a certain player, and I would guard that player all game. And that was basically my role. And I was fortunate enough I got all conference my junior and senior year, and all county both years, and won team MVP my senior year. So.
And then did you think about for college, or was that still not part of the equation?
Yeah, I was going to go to Pfeiffer University, which is literally, maybe 10 minutes from my high school. I had a scholarship there. The summer I was about to go, I played in the Raleigh shootout and just killed my knee. And I was out for months, and then decided not to go to Pfeiffer, moved to Wilmington. I had all intents and purposes to playing there after a rehab. And then, like I said, I lived a block from the beach, and did that.
It took you away. I get it. That's a lure. That's hard to get away from that.
Yeah.
So how did you get into marketing then?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I was in Boone, I actually worked for a law firm for a little bit. I was not a lawyer. I was a legal assistant. And I had some friends that were in Georgia at the time, and they had a marketing firm. And they thought I would be really good at kind of project management and leading projects and doing marketing, stuff like that. And they called me down, and I moved down to Georgia for a while and started that. And that's how I got into it. And that was early, or I guess mid 2000s.
And then you've had decades of experience in it.
That's right. I'm an old man. I'll be 45 on the 16th. So,
well, I mean, it has changed so much. I was a marketing minor when I went to South Carolina. I did sport administration too. And it's just totally changed how everything is measured and looked at, and what gets eyeballs and what doesn't. So you gotta always keep up with the latest in that position.
Yeah. And when I started that role, I really didn't know a lot. So I was learning on the fly, but I had to do from start to end marketing. So I was learning SEO, email campaigns, social media campaigns. So
yeah,
it was a good start.
Well, what was your first job as a young person?
Blockbuster Video, and still one of my favorite jobs ever.
I worked at Blockbuster too for 2 days.
Oh,
I was this is it. I'm done.
I had a fantastic boss. He was awesome, such a great guy. And, my friends would come in and rent movies, and I love movies. So I got to talk about movies all day. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. You still probably have in the back of your head, somebody come through a door and it rings, you got to yell out something, right?
That's right. Welcome to Blockbuster.
So what made you decide to, like you said, that you started kind of with the law office, did you felt like just marketing just fit, or did you feel like this was something you wanted to make a career of, or what?
Yeah, it was, they kind of pitched me the idea, and it sounded really, really cool, and went down there and got into it. And, I never had thought to be an attorney or anything like that. So, I thought it was a good fit for me, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's cool. And so now you're marrying both the marketing, your love of soccer that you gained, but you couldn't really fulfill, especially from the injury. And then so you're here in Charlotte and you get hooked up with Mint City Collective and you're just part of this. Besides, those people, are there anybody else that you would say like this person kind of was a mentor or someone that I kind of was like my North Star or somebody who guided me?
I just think my fellow members in Mint City, there were a couple of us that, we would jump on those early Zoom calls with the team before we really had a team name and everything like that. They were reaching out to the supporter groups to kind of get their feedback. And I remember very early, Thomas Schalling being on those calls, Joe LeBou, who was not even in his role now. He was in like ticketing at
he was
that point.
He's director of ticketing.
Yeah. And I just remember something that really I still really appreciate when Nick Kelly got the job, former president of Charlotte FC, and then he was like the CEO of Tepper. The day he got the job, he called me on the phone, and I thought it was a spam call. I had no idea who it was, but I answered it, thank goodness. And it was him, and he was like, "Hey, I'm Nick Kelly. I'm the president." I was like, "Oh, like why are you calling me? Like, oh, what's going on?" And he was like, "Hey, I'm calling around to some certain folks that are in the soccer community, and I just want to pick your brain for a little bit." And I was floored by that. And ever since I every once in a while I still talk to Nick to this day, and I talk to Joe, I talk to Bobby, I talk to Thomas. So I've really have gotten to learn and know these people from the very beginning, and have just really appreciated that those relationships and everything too. So I don't think anyone's really been like a mentor per se, but I've just had a lot of people be nice to me, I guess, in a way, which is really nice.
Well, I feel like just the overall vibe of the club itself is kind of a family inclusive environment. And so they're open and willing to talk about most things and will reach out too.
Yeah, and that's not normal. I had a buddy of mine, Donnie. He even said that he follows a lot of sports teams and everything. He's like, this is not normal, and even the players themselves, it's not normal for players to like reach out or talk and like interact that much. So I think we're very fortunate. It's really cool to see.
That's cool. All right, so now we're going to get into some maybe harder questions about just your life and just how you've gone through different things. So, have you had to make any sacrifices to get the success that you've had?
Oh yeah. Lots of extra time learning things that I didn't know. I was not the best student in school. So anything like, marketing or even soccer stuff, like I just spent a lot of extra time on my own learning everything. I'm not the smartest person on the planet, so it takes me extra time to learn things. So, and I'm a tad dyslexic too. So it takes me a little bit of time. So I just had to do a lot of extra learning, I guess.
Well, the audio fits you well. Are you visually kind of, is that more, or is it other things?
Yeah. Reading certain things, like if I were talking to you and tried to read something, I would get stuff backwards, numbers, I'm always flipping around, but it's not really bad, but there's a little bit there.
Right. And it just kind of tricks. I have a child who's dyslexic in the same way, and he prefers audio to a lot of things, and just makes it easier for him to even write in audio, to speak it. Well, how do you deal with failure? What is your approach to failure?
I do a lot of journaling and, sitting down. If something doesn't go correctly for me, I'll sit down and try to figure out, what has happened? What did I do? What could I do better? And just try not to beat myself up. I've kind of learned that over the years, especially when I got into my late 30s, because I used to beat myself up pretty bad. But I got to a point where I'm like, it does no good to do that. I can find a way out. And I found like journaling and writing it all out was super beneficial for me.
That's cool. So on the flip side of that, like, how do you stay motivated? The journaling probably keeps you going in that kind of, getting to these kind of reflection, but how do you like motivate, or even motivate yourself or motivate others? What is your strategy?
Well, I try to stay positive and have fun and realize that it's super cliche, but you only have one life and you need to make the most of it. So that's why some people do make fun of me about being optimistic, especially with the team and stuff. But that's how I like to be. And I have a family now too, so I need to do things for them, and so that gives me a little more motivation. But I try to do things that are fun and keeps me occupied and energized. And if it's something that I don't like to do or I feel like it's sucking the life out of me, I don't
Mhm.
do those things.
Right.
So yeah, that's one thing I also have learned in my late 30s and into my 40s is don't do things you don't like.
Yeah, I think when everybody reaches like a certain age, usually it's most people it's around their 40s. They're like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do it, so I'm just not going to do it. Whereas
Yeah.
before, you almost feel like you're obligated. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like when I see like a lot of negativity or people complaining or something like that, I disengage. I'm like, I don't need to fight. I don't need to over explain or try to convince somebody.
Right.
I'll
They're
just do my
they're
yeah,
going to get it in their own due time.
yeah.
uh, so, what's the hardest thing about balancing all of this? So, you got your job, you got your Mid City Collective, you got your family, all this stuff. What's the hardest thing about this?
The balancing part, absolutely. That's the hardest part is, especially the first year. I wanted to be at every event. I wanted to be at every game. I wanted to be on every Zoom call. I wanted to be do all the things because I knew it was going to be special, and I can look back on that and have those memories. And then, the second, last year too, I was like, well, I really want to go to that away game. Like, I don't want to miss out because
Right.
we're making history. Even if it doesn't go well, we're still building that history, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I want to help people, inform people, and hopefully be a good ambassador for the team and get more people involved. So in a weird way, I feel like a sense of like responsibility, which sounds absurd.
Mhm.
But I feel that. But yeah, it takes a toll. I think this year I may have to miss some home games because I've got a 2.5-year-old, and I really need to make sure. And my wife's been great, but I want to make sure that I'm spending some time with them and doing some other things that I love to do because I have so many hobbies outside of soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what are some other things you would do if, let's say, if Mint City Collective dropped off the face of the earth, we didn't have a show or anything like that? What would you be besides your family? Where would you spend your time?
Yeah. So I do beekeeping.
Oh,
And
I've done that too. I'm
yeah.
certified.
Oh, very nice. Oh, we'll have to talk more about that. So yeah, I'm getting more into that, and I do this thing on the side called the Southern Blueprint, where I talk about fun things to do in the South and partner with like Southern vendors and stuff like that. So I have this whole other life and hobby on the side, which also takes time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
That's a lot.
so yeah, that's probably what I would be doing, really focusing on that. I love to hike and camp and fly fish and stuff like that. So.
That sounds cool. Is there anything you haven't done yet that you're like, I want to get to, whether it's with Mint City, with your show, or just something in life you're like, this is on my list. I need to make this happen.
Well, I think like most people that do these types of shows, they would love to get paid for it, at least part time. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of what I would like to be at. We're starting to get some sponsors. We're selling merch, and I've seen some other shows starting to get sponsors, and I think that's important because it is a part time job or a full time job for folks. So it's nice
Right.
if you can get paid a little bit for it. In an ideal world, I would love to do this full time, but
Yeah.
that's don't know if that ever get to that point, but that would be great.
If you retire early, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So we have a last part of our show. It's called Stoppage Time. It's just some quick hitters at the end.
It's stoppage time!
Do you have a must-do personal ritual?
Yeah. Usually on Sundays, I will sit outside and I'll smoke a cigar or something, and I will journal out, my day, my week, what's gone well, what do I need to do, and just kind of refocus all that. I'll have some coffee in the morning and, like I said, smoke a cigar and just sit there and write some stuff out. It's very therapeutic and it's helped me tremendously.
So how do you keep all your journals?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have probably like a place that just stacks of them?
Yeah, and I've started this thing. I wanted to make a booklet or journal for my son of just like little quotes and things that I think would help him. And like one day I'll give it to him, maybe when he's like 16 or 18 or something like that. Like, here's a good roadmap. Here are all the things that like I messed
Here's all
up
the
on.
things.
Yeah, there you go. Here, don't do those things.
Right, because you can tell them all you want while they're growing up, and then later they're going to look at it and they'll be like, "Oh yeah,
That's right.
these are things." Yeah, because they won't listen to you when they're that age.
That's right. he's already starting now at 2.5. Not listening.
Yeah. It'll just be different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this might be the same thing that's your ritual might be also your favorite unplugged activity, or do you have a different one?
I love hiking with my wife. We have a ton of fun. We laugh the whole time, and I like doing that. It's pretty special. Something that we started doing when we first started dating, and it's something that we continue to do. So just going out hiking new trails, and everywhere we travel, we try to find a spot to do that. So it's always nice. And it's
take
nice.
The kid with you.
We'll start doing that. We haven't yet, because my wife can walk me into the ground. She's quite the hiker, even with her short legs. So, yeah. So, but we'll start taking him, and that'd be kind of a fun experience too. But it's always nice to get out of everything. You're not on your phone. You're not at your desk, and just chat about whatever comes up and just laugh along the way.
Right. Fresh air. Yeah. Nothing like that. And perfect, like as you said, perfect with the new kits, right? Just seeing that and kind of envisioning that, like every time it'll just bring you to those moments, won't it?
Yeah, it's so funny. So that the image that people have kind of posted of where the inspiration come, I literally used to have that as my screensaver on my desktop computer.
Yeah, it was a common one. Yeah,
yeah, and so I saw it and I was like, oh my, this is perfect for me. And like I said, I've lived in Wilmington, I lived in Boone, here in the Piedmont, so it's kind of special for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that's on the 16th, right? The kit reveal.
I think it's the 17th.
17th.
So my birthday is actually the 16th, and I'm gonna be missing it. So that's that kind of stinks, but that's all right. I'll get it when I come back.
Yeah. Do you have a go-to snack while watching a match?
I will usually do nachos and salsa. That's usually, I'll have a plate in front of me if I'm here at the house, watching the game or something like that. But when I'm out and about, I don't know. It's whatever they have. But yeah,
whatever they're serving.
Yeah, but usually it's nachos.
All right. What kind of design impresses you more, interior or exterior?
Oh, that's a good question. I think interior. Yeah, I think I'd have to go with that.
Are you a detailed person?
I am.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
like all this stuff on the inside is really what makes the thing on the outside look good.
Yeah,
so if that's not done, then
right, it makes it a home. You're in here looking around, you're sitting, and you're looking at your environment. And I've tried to do that in my little office here with I literally have all my soccer stuff in this room.
Right.
So I got all my jerseys in front of me over here, scarves behind me. So try to make it cozy.
I kind of feel like SEO is like internal.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all the inside stuff. You do all that, and the other stuff's going to work out fine.
That's right. Absolutely.
What recharges you?
I think sitting my phone down, getting outside, and walking, running, just being out and about. But I will literally, and I've done that this week, is I will sit my phone on my desk. I won't take it with me, and I'll just go walk around the neighborhood, go for a run, go for a hike or something like that, and just breathe in some fresh air and not think about soccer, not think about my job, just kind of nice and relaxed vibe.
Yeah. All right. Last question. If you were a current player on Charlotte FC, what player would you most be like?
Ooh, I think probably Brandt or Yuri. Just because height, and especially with Brandt's really scrappy, and that was my style. Because again, I wasn't the most technically sound, but I could, play defense, breakup plays and stuff like that. So I'd say both of those guys.
And you'd work as hard as anybody out there.
I had to, because technically not as great, but I could run. I can't do it now. I could run for days. Never got tired. I was a lot skinnier back then, so I didn't have all this weight carrying around. But I would say those two guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Matt, for joining us on the show. We appreciate you coming by and talking to us about your life and the Mint City Soccer Show and just all the stuff that we have out there to share with Charlotte soccer fans.
Yeah, thanks for having me. These questions have been awesome.
Good. Well, that's it for this episode of the Charlotte FC podcast. I want to thank Matt Swift for joining me today on this episode. Make sure you catch Matt on X at 160_Swiftly and on Insta at Matt Swiftness. Also, don't forget to listen to him and David Gossler each week on the Mint City Soccer Show and, of course, get some of their merch. Till next time, have a good one. Thanks for listening to Charlotte FC Podcast. I'm Nick Finelli, your host. Please follow us on X and Instagram at CLTFC Podcast. We're also at CLTFCpodcast.com or CharlotteFCpodcast.com if you want to go to our website, and we'll be posting more stuff on YouTube. So if you want to get playlists there too,